Olá pessoal, boa noite. Hoje nós vamos ter uma conversa maravilhosa com o Tracy Maylett. O Tracy é o CEO Global da DecisionWise. O Tracy, ele é não só um maravilhoso especialista nesse tema do engajamento, em liderança, mas o Tracy é um grande amigo, né? Uma pessoa, um ser humano dos melhores. Que bom que vocês estão começando a entrar por aqui. Olá, André, Luísa. Olá, querido André. Que bom que você está aí. O Rogério. O Tracy vai se juntar a nós agora. Tudo bem, Luísa Zec? Bem-vinda. O Tracy já está sendo adicionado. Vamos torcer por uma ótima internet hoje. Vamos rezar para todos os deuses mais tecnológicos. Tudo bem, Andréa, querida? Muito frio aí em Porto Alegre? Espero que você esteja bem. Nós já fizemos aqui a edição. Olá, Elisa. Bem-vinda, querida Elisa Furucho. Minha grande amiga Elisa. Minha magic friend. Nós já fizemos aqui a adição do Tracy. Ele deve estar passando pela alfândega em Guarulhos. O Brasil é tão complicado que até para isso deve ser mais difícil, né? Aqui está já guardando a conexão dele. Vamos tentar de novo. Espera aqui. Muito bem, pessoal. Que bom que vocês estão chegando. Boa noite. Sejam bem-vindos. A gente vai fazer aqui uma conexão. Hello, my friend.
Hello, my friend.
You are upside down. You are upside down.
Let's fix that.
Oh, great. Now I see you, my friend. So give me just a few minutes. Our Brazilian friends are just coming in. And I'll have a brief introduction in Portuguese, okay?
Perfect. Thank you.
Good. Cecile, how you doing, my dear? Cecile, good you are here with us. Pessoal, boa noite. Vamos começar a nossa live aqui com o querido Tracy. Primeiro, apresentar para vocês quem é a DecisionWise. Olá, Will. E quem é o Tracy? Primeiro, Tracy é uma figura humana das melhores. Tracy Maylett é um grande especialista em liderança e engajamento. Ele é o CEO Global da DecisionWise. A DecisionWise, para quem não conhece, ela é uma empresa americana que fica na costa oeste dos Estados Unidos. E é uma empresa fundada em 96, com um DNA muito de tecnologia voltada para diagnósticos organizacionais, sobretudo ligados à liderança, cultura e engajamento. Então, desde que eu saí da Natura, em 2011, eu me ocupei de procurar uma empresa com esse perfil para trazer para o Brasil. Eu estava bastante preocupado em termos aqui no Brasil só pesquisas de clima e, sobretudo, pesquisas cujo viés é muito mais o de vender uma certificação do que focar num diagnóstico de gestão aprofundado, unindo essas três dimensões: liderança, cultura e engajamento. Portanto, em 2018, eu peguei um avião com a Magda, minha esposa, fui para Utah e conheci esta figura humana e o time deles lá nos Estados Unidos, e foi uma grata surpresa. Só para vocês terem noção, o primeiro papo que eu tive com eles, eles disseram para mim: nós não vamos falar de negócios. Primeiro, nós queremos ouvir tua história de vida. Bom, eu já estava pronto para perguntar onde eu assino, né? Quem me conhece sabe que começar assim é começar maravilhosamente algum tipo de parceria. Nós vamos conversar com o Tracy Maylett sobre liderança, cultura e engajamento. E, claro, não dá para esquecer que estamos no meio de uma tremenda crise, portanto, temos que levar em conta esse momento de turbulência. Então, nós vamos começar aqui com ele. Nós vamos fazer esse papo em inglês, com o meu inglês corintiano, né? Apesar dele ser corintiano, o Tracy vai conseguir entender. E depois nós vamos deixar esta mensagem gravada aqui no nosso, não só no Story, mas no feed. Hello, my friend. Welcome here.
Boa tarde.
Thank you for accepting this invitation.
My pleasure.
I was talking to my Brazilian friends. how we admire you. Magda, Renata Diaz, Rogério, Farah, my partners, how we admire you not only as an expert on leadership and engagement, but also as a human being.
Oh, very
We
good,
love
Mike.
working with your team, with your staff, your brilliant staff in the United States. How we are proud to be part of your team here in Brazil, working with Magic. So you are very welcome. Thank you for accepting. And I have a first question for you, my friend.
Please.
Once we are in the middle of a huge turbulence, I would love to have you sharing with our friends tonight how you are facing this quarantine period in your country, in your state, in your city, with your friends, with your family. So share with us how you are facing this quarantine period, first of all. Thank you again, my friend.
My pleasure. Rogerio, can you hear me okay?
Yes, perfect.
Very good. I appreciate that. Thank you for asking. Thank you for asking the question. It's been interesting. I've been on a number of telephone calls and Skype calls with a number of people throughout the world. And it's interesting to see how people are dealing with this in general. It's not much different wherever I call. It's interesting. The same things that we're facing are exactly what you're facing. The concerns with our own personal needs, our family needs. How is my family? Or will they be able to go through this okay? Will they be able to maintain their level of employment? Will they be able to maintain their level of happiness and standard of living? And the same questions that you're facing there in Sao Paulo are the same questions we're facing in Utah in the United States. One of the things that we feel very fortunate to be able to do is get out and walk around a bit. So we're not enclosed in a building all the time. And that's been very, very fortunate for us. But we're dealing with it the same way you are. The remote communication has become far more important than it ever has in the past. And that just doesn't extend to business. I find myself not being able to visit my parents who are not old, but they're getting older. And because of that, it allows me to Skype call them on a regular basis. So it's a shift in the way we see things. I hope things are going well for you and your team, and it's a pleasure to speak with you.
Okay, thank you, my friend. Hope everything goes well for all of us. My friend, once we are in a huge turbulence, an unexpected one, a really good one. So how can we really engage people during a turbulence period like that one? Is that possible to engage people when everything is so complex right this moment?
It is, but engagement has changed. And in times of crisis, the things that we look for in engagement have changed a bit. When we talk about engagement, we talk about the MAGIC concept. MAGIC stands for meaning, autonomy, growth, impact, and connection. Those elements are essential for somebody to engage, to have those present, and it's represented by the word magic. But before we get to magic, we have to understand that the basic satisfaction elements have to be in place. A year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, the satisfaction elements were all there. By satisfaction elements, I'm talking about those things that Herzberg, in his hygiene factors, the concept of hygiene factors, calls those things that don't necessarily engage me or motivate me, but I take these away and they become very demotivating or very disengaging. Those things include things like job security. It includes things like safety at work. Do I feel safe going into work? That's something we didn't think much about last year. Do I feel safe going into the office environment? Today, I wonder if I'm safe. Things such as, do I have the tools and resources I need to succeed, are new. That's something we didn't worry about as much last year. Those were the things that were already in place for the engagement factors to take effect. However, today, we need to focus on those basic satisfaction elements. One of the things we're starting to see in the US in particular is the concept of a furlough. A furlough is putting somebody out of work for a temporary period of time and then calling that person back to work. Well, that's something that we've not necessarily had to consider much in the past. So when you ask the question, Rogerio, is engagement the same is not the same as it was a year ago. We now need to focus on those satisfaction elements. Now, if you're okay, I'd like to talk a little bit about once those satisfaction elements are in place.
Go ahead.
Excellent.
All your time.
So let's talk about the concept of getting those satisfaction elements in place. I, as a worker, can't even begin to think about engagement until I realize, is my job safe? Am I safe going to work? Do I have a job? Do I have the tools that are necessary? Once those are in place, I can start worrying about engagement and those 5 factors that we just mentioned. If it's okay, I'll go through a couple of those and talk about how that's been affected. So when you think about meaning, for example, meaning is a sense of purpose behind what I'm doing. It's a sense of purpose to something greater than just the job itself. Well, there's some positives and some negatives happening with that. On the positive side, many people today are finding meaning in their jobs that they didn't have 6 months ago. I'll give you an example of this. One of the people that I coach, a group that I coach on engagement, is a company that makes disinfecting products in the United States. Very well known throughout the world, and I won't mention their names because I don't want to embarrass the individuals that I'm coaching. But one of the things that they found is they've gone from being a very boring industry, very boring product. They make things like bleach and disinfectants. That wasn't a job that was considered exciting a year ago. Now, all of a sudden, these people are finding meaning in what they do. They're saving lives where before they thought they were making chemicals. So meaning for some people has gotten much, much higher. For some people on the negative side, they're starting to realize that maybe my job may not be as important as I thought it once was. These are not necessities. So meaning, for example, has the positives and the negatives. Let's go to autonomy. The concept of autonomy is so many people now around the world are working from home where they didn't have that ability before. Well, that's a freedom that they may not have had previously that they do have. So that's very positive. On the negative side, they may be forced to work in a way that they don't enjoy. For example, I love to work face to face, but now I'm forced to work at a distance. So part of that autonomy has been removed from me. Growth. So growth is the next one. That's the G in magic. This is a challenge for most people right now. Some of the things that we're experiencing, particularly for older workers, that technology, well, I'll confess a sin right now. Rogerio, this is the first time I have actually conducted an Instagram live session like this. All right. So my team in the past has set these up for me, and I'm learning something. We conduct things differently. And so we grow, we learn some things that we've not faced in the past. For example, how do I coach remotely? How do I engage remotely? That's a growth opportunity. On the opposite side of that, I no longer have the ability to go to send my employees to train somewhere at a seminar or a conference. In the last 4 months, in the last 3 months, we've had 5 conferences canceled. We don't have that ability to do that anymore. We may not have the promotion and growth opportunities, to move to the next level that we once had. So that's been taken away from growth. Let's look at impact. On the positive side, one of the things that organizations are doing today is there are not extra positions where people aren't making a difference. Right now, you have to be making a difference in order to be employed. And so that's very positive. We're seeing more impact. On the negative side, our estimates in our surveys that we're seeing right now, we're still conducting employee engagement surveys. Over 40% of people say they're ineffective at work today. So 40%, nearly half of people say that they're wasting time at work, whereas in the past, that was less than 20%. So we're seeing that negative side. And I hope we make the bulk of this about connection, the majority of our call about connection today, because the pros that I'm finding in connection is that I'm able to connect with people I haven't in the past because I'm focusing on doing that. But the negatives in connection right now is I'm having a call with you right now in my office when many, many times I'll be with with hundreds of people and people that I enjoy being with, and I love to be with you and to talk to you face to face. And I'm missing a lot of that. It's been very interesting in our office. In our main headquarters, we have the office where I work. We have about 50 employees. And in that office right now, for the first week, we had nobody showing up. And now we're getting 15, 20 people that come to the office because they're tired of being alone. They want to be with people. So you see that the magic components have changed dramatically in the last 3 months.
Interesting, interesting. A lot of work for us, right? About the crisis itself, do we have a specific connection between facing a crisis and the level of engagement? I'm sorry, I missed you. Is there any specific connection between the crisis and the level of engagement? Somebody can say, oh, okay, I was fully engaged before the crisis, but now my level of engagement is different. And the reason is specifically the crisis. Is there any connection between the crisis and the level of engagement inside organizations, as far as you can understand?
Yes. Well, first of all, statistically speaking, engagement has dropped by about 20%. That's a lot. 20% within the last 45 days. At the same time, we have to consider something. That's not just engagement at work. That's engagement in life as well. So that level of 20% drop in engagement at work corresponds to the engagement outside of work as well. It's not just a work issue, it's a life issue. And to answer your question, it very, very clearly has impacted engagement.
Thank you, my friend. And this is a very good point. It's not only about our level of engagement with our work. It's more than that. Good, good, good. Coming back to magic, as you mentioned, the 5 keys of engagement, the 5 keys that are able to foster engagement inside our teams: meaning, autonomy, growth, impact, and connection. Let's talk about the C of magic. As you mentioned before, the C, the connection, the sense of belonging to something bigger than us. How can we have connection right now? We are not together. We are working far from each other. We are inside our home offices. How can we guarantee connection once we are not together? And what is the connection about the level of engagement and the remote experience? People working inside our home offices. Is it a good point to increase the level of engagement or the opposite?
We have a saying in the United States. It's based on the laws of physics. And that saying is, nature abhors a vacuum. Right? I don't know if it exists in Portuguese as well.
Yes,
it's the concept that if something is missing, nature will fill that in. If there is water around and there's a dry spot, nature will fill that dry spot in. That happens in connection in organizations right now. So as we mentioned earlier, the connection is not there. So what I'm saying here is one of the most important things that we can do is get rid of any of the vacuums, get rid of any of the empty spaces. We do that through communication. So one of the best ways that we can resolve part of this connection problem is to communicate. If we're not communicating, and I'm talking about a leader communicating to people that work for him or her, I'm talking about an organization communicating with people. If they're not communicating, that connection is gone. And so people will fill that lack of information in with ideas that aren't true. So one of the most important things we can do is communicate. Now, when we think of connection, the easiest thing to think of is a social connection. That's connection to the people that I work with. But in the book, in the Engagement Magic book, one of the things that we found in doing the research is that connection has basically 5 different kinds of connection. The one that we think of most often is social. I connect to you, I connect to other people. But there are other elements of connection as well. One of those is connection to the organization. One of the things that we're finding, to answer your question, is not only are people disconnected from other people, they're disconnected from the organization. We asked the question, I feel proud to tell people that I work for whatever place that may be, DecisionWise. And very, very high responses. I feel proud that I work for this company. Now we're seeing much lower responses because people are not feeling that they're part of that organization anymore. Another part of it is mission. Another part of connection is values. Another part of connection is task. So the more that we can do to communicate as an organization, how you're still part of something very valuable, how you're still part of our mission, to continue to reinforce that mission, that helps a great deal with that connection piece. But Rogerio, to answer your question, connection is one of those elements that has just really gone down quite extensively.
Yeah. You know what? Most of the companies that we work with here in Brazil are doing a good job with regards to connection and communication. And why? When they communicate, they try not to guarantee that people understand, but also that they believe in what they are deciding to do. When we talk about how can we guarantee that people understand, they use 2 measures. They repeat and ask for confirmation. And to guarantee that people not only understand, but also believe, they encourage people to ask why.
Good.
Why we are doing this and not that. And if people are not afraid of negative consequences, if there are no fear of consequences, if there is a space that is real safe to question our leadership, to question our friends, then we feel free to not only question why, but believe in each one of the initiatives that we are building together. So these are the best practices from our clients.
Rogério, you mentioned something very important there, if I may interrupt, and that is...
Oh, please.
When we connect with information, like you were just talking about, we connect in 2 ways. One is we connect with the head. That is the brain. That's where we provide information. But the other one is we connect with the heart as well. And many organizations are very good at connecting with information, with the brain, with the mind. Fewer organizations are doing what you just said, and that's explaining the why, so we capture the heart as well. You know, one of the things that we're advising organizations to do right now, and this is something we do internally, is your meetings, the meetings that you may have check-in meetings. But part of those meetings is, as we look outside of the COVID-19 issue, before, when we were having meetings, they served a couple of purposes. One of those was to provide information. The other was to connect socially. And so as you're having those meetings, it's important to understand that part of those meetings should also offer the opportunity to connect the emotion, the heart as well. It doesn't all have to be information. It can be partly fun, because that's part of who we are. We have to connect emotionally as well. The key difference here is that in the office, social connection just happens because we see each other constantly, and it just happens. Over technology, this has to be intentional. We have to create intentionally the opportunity to connect the heart, because most of the time we just spend time connecting the minds. We have to intentionally connect the heart. Intentional is a key word here.
Yes. Yes, thank you, my friend. Pessoal, eu estou conversando aqui com o Tracy Maylett, o CEO Global da DecisionWise. Para vocês que entraram agora, a DecisionWise é uma empresa americana que nós temos o prazer de representar aqui no Brasil como DecisionWise Brasil. Nós trabalhamos diagnósticos de engajamento com a metodologia Magic. E o Tracy está aqui conversando direto de Utah conosco sobre o desafio de engajar agora. Vi vários amigos aqui, pena que eu não estou conversando com todos. Fala, Bruno, querido. Mas obrigado por estarem aqui, os amigos de Santa Catarina tão especiais. Eu vi a Denise da Omni, vi a Ale Xavier também. Super obrigado, queridos. Nós estamos chegando na reta final aqui do nosso papo. Tracy, how do you in the US envision the end of this crisis? I mean, what people call now the new normal. How can we envision the workplace after this? How can we try to figure out the new way of working, the new way that we build connection, relationships? How will be the space itself, separate, far from each other, 1 meter from the guys with masks? How do you envision the new normal after this turbulence, my friend?
Well, it's hard to predict, obviously, and I wish I had a better answer. I really wish I had a better answer than that. Our dear president, Mr. Trump, believes he has the answer to that one, and I don't think he does. I envision a different organization in a couple of ways. First, we have gone through in the entire world, and different parts of the world experiencing this differently. We have gone through a period where employees may not have the level of appreciation for their jobs that we did 5 years ago or 8 years ago. And I think one of the things we're starting to experience and will experience is that desire for the employees will feel more appreciation to their work. So that's a good thing. That's a very good thing. They will internally be more engaged in what they do. Now, that said, where organizations are going to be different is that we used to, 3 months ago, 6 months ago, hiring people was very difficult. Hiring the right people was very difficult. Instead of organizations focusing on engaging everybody in the organization, what I believe organizations will be focused on is those key individuals, that 80% of the organization that drives the business. So retaining those individuals will be much more important. Now, as far as things such as social distancing and staying, 3 meters from each other, 2 meters from everybody, that will be relaxed. We know that will be the case. But organizations are now also going to have to understand that people have experienced a taste of digital technology, digital meetings, digital delivery of conferences, and that taste isn't going to go away. They like that. And it works to some degree. So I think we'll see a lot more in terms of changes that way. But the biggest change, I think, is going to be in the role of the manager, the role of the leader in an organization. Rogerio, knowing you, that was probably a question you'd be asking about what is the role of the leader going forward. I know that's the question you would ask. So I hope we can spend a little bit of time talking about that.
Good, good. You know what? You mentioned Trump. My friend, if you were here in Brazil right now, Bolsonaro compared to Trump, and you know that I don't like Trump, as you don't like him. You don't like Trump also, but Trump looks like Abraham Lincoln right now when we have a Bolsonaro here. So don't complain with us right now, please. Don't do that. So we are getting to the end of our conversation. Let me ask you, what is the ideal engaging leader right now? How can we have an ideal model of an engaging leader despite the moment? I was talking to a friend yesterday and we were laughing together because how could we say that before the crisis we were in a normal period? We were not. No. We were crazy at all. But things got worse now, despite the moment, because we know that a turbulence comes after another turbulence, that's the normal thing. Since the capitalist system is always a sequence of crisis and turbulence. What is a real good leader to engage and inspire people despite the moment?
Well, I will answer your question with a couple of bullet points, but before I do that, may I give you some statistics to support what you're addressing?
Please.
And I'm going to actually read these because I want to make sure I get these right here, because I think they're important statistics we've just found. So when it comes to an engaging leader, some statistics that are very interesting, and this is based off of the last 3 years of research that we've done, and these are recently released statistics. So here they are. When a manager is fully engaged, so I myself have been engaged, we find 87% more than the typical number of fully engaged employees. Meaning that when I am engaged as a manager, we will find 87% more engaged employees on my team. So that's important. The next one, when a manager is disengaged, so I don't like my job, we find 75% more than the typical number of fully disengaged employees. That's key. I'm disengaged, my team's going to be disengaged. Next, when an employee's perception of their manager is negative, we find over 8 times the number of fully disengaged employees of what we'd expect. So Rogerio, you as my manager, if I don't like you as my manager and I have a negative perception of you as a leader, I'm 8 times more likely to be disengaged. Last one, employees with a negative view or perception of their leader leave the organization at a rate that is 56% more than is expected. All right, so with those statistics, what does that tell you about the importance of a manager in engagement? Pretty critical.
Interesting.
So to answer your question, so basically the role of a manager is even more critical today than it was in the past.
Yes.
Our relationship of manager, leader to employee is so critical going forward. So we say there are 4 things that a manager can do, 4 things that a leader can do. Number 1, it's a concept in organizational psychology that's called emotional contagion. Emotional contagion. Basically what it means is my emotions are contagious. They spread. Much like COVID, it spreads. My emotions also spread. So the first thing that I can do as a manager is I have to engage myself. I'll give you a quick example of this. So if I smile and I'm shaking my head and smiling like this, what happens is in your mind, something changes. And you start to see a facial expression change and you see the eyes change. Physically, you actually change. It's because my emotion is contagious. So number 1, if I want an engaged team, I myself have to be engaged in what I do because it will show if I'm not. So first thing is I have to be engaged. Next, managers who have engaged teams hire engaged teams. So we're entering an environment where not everybody gets a job anymore. We can hire people who choose to engage in our environment. So managers hire people because they can choose to engage, not just because they have skills, but because they can choose to engage in that environment. The third one is create magic, is create meaning, autonomy, growth, impact, and connection. That's done through, right now, more important than ever, is communication and establishing trust. So creating that magic. And then the last piece is people naturally want to engage. So understand that you can get out of the way and let them engage in what they do. And many managers think that they have to micromanage their way through a crisis. Step back and empower the people and let them take this. Work as a team, not just as a dictator.
Wonderful, my friend. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you a lot. So this is the end of our conversation. Actually, my friend, before I ask you to say your goodbye to our Brazilian friends here, I do believe that a leader have to put out the fire around but has to keep the fire burning inside our teams and their teams. So how can we put out the fire around and at the same time keep the fire burning inside people? In my opinion, magic is a very good way to do that. So thank you for the opportunity of bringing magic to Brazil and to our companies here. So thank you all my Brazilian friends that were here with us. Guilherme.
Thank you.
Remember Guilherme? Guilherme is here with us. And
of course.
He said that comparing to Bolsonaro, Trump is Churchill. No, Rogério Churchill. Guilherme said that he comparing to Bolsonaro, Trump is a huge leader, a wonderful leader, an awesome one. So hello, Fabiano, my friend. Thank you for being here with us. And Susie, hello, dear Susie. Great to have you here with us. So your last words, my friend, your goodbye to our Brazilian friends here.
My goodbye is two words here. The first one is survive. And many managers and leaders and organizations are focused on survival. We have to focus on survive. But the other one is we have to focus on thrive as well. Thrive, Thrive. The plans that you develop as leaders and organizations can focus on survival right now, and they should. But at the same time, we have to help our people see how they can thrive as well when we come out of this. We have an opportunity. We have an opportunity to design the future, not just focus on the past. And I worry that too many organizations are only focused on how we survive when they can also be focused on how we can thrive. That's us as individuals, our organizations, us as leaders, countries. We need to focus on how to thrive, not just survive. Rogerio, thank you very much. This has been a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to work with you. And it's a pleasure to speak with the folks that are the good people on this call.
When you were in Brazil, you learned something about Portuguese. Remember, what is the most important thing that you understand in Portuguese?
The most important thing is Vai Corinthians.
Love you, my friend. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for accepting my invitation. Thank you. Obrigado, pessoal. Super obrigado. Ótimo resto de noite a vocês. Bye, bye.
Obrigado.
Tchau, tchau, Tracy.
Tchau.